Project Zomboid's come a long way since those old demo and sprite-based days, and the Indiestone is showing no sign of stopping anytime soon. If anything, they've only become more emboldened to keep updating and adding to the game as is, with each update adding more and more content and refining what's already here. So let's take a look at what the Indiestone has planned for the future, and also give my take on the road ahead. But before we dive in, I'd like to thank Katophoenix for her lovely artwork, and thank you, the community, for all the support. Now let's dive in, shall we? The post starts with a teaser, a 2-minute long internal development video showing off some of the older NPC systems they have in place, where you see many NPCs fighting the hordes, sneaking through the rain, and ending with a pan on the familiar territory. That's right, back to the house that started it all, and hooked many of us years ago with good old Kate and Baldspot. While the devs did state this teaser may not be canonically accurate anymore, it was done to echo the early tech demo, with familiar characters possibly being used in new or different ways in the future that tell different stories. NPCs are planned in 3 waves, with a variety of polishing and small to moderate sized additions planned in the meantime, and between each waves. To better facilitate this, the team has split the responsibility for the updates into 2 teams. One team's handling the big NPC work and all the features that entails, while the second team's handling smaller but still varied and useful updates that'll go between each wave of major updates. While they haven't stated for sure what'll be entailed between each of the 3 phases, they have given us concrete information on Build 42, which is exciting, and the fact Build 43 will be the release of the first NPC updates. Now let's cover what the other team's gonna be working and planning, shall we? The other team's currently handling all the final polishing of Build 41, smoothing out issues, patching bugs, making the back end and such more stable with multiplayer, ultimately just finishing off anything that may have gotten missed or overlooked with the big work in place. Build 42 is where things get a bit more interesting, with a big focus on balancing existing mechanics, such as trades, professions, skills, and other parts of the game that are feeling their age, and either feel incomplete or lacking. Which leads into the second point of focus with this build, that being expanding tech trees. Honestly, this is pretty good news to me, as I just really want there to be more options and variety within the current skill trees, as skills like electrical just feel so underwhelming and incomplete, especially as the skill feels very grindy with very little value outside the ability to hotwire cars and pick up some electrical based furniture like stoves. So hopefully these skills get expanded upon and get more incentive to actually grind it up. Another reason behind this is the fact that there's far too many items that can only be found and not crafted. So once a server's picked clean of loot, you'll have to either activate loot respawn or wipe the entire server and start anew. Basically, they want to introduce a stronger late game to incentivize people to play and build up factions and communities on servers without fear of it getting stale or boring or just getting wiped. Kinda like how, say, Minecraft has factions of people who will just form towns and communities and perform roles just because they enjoy doing these things. This will also incentivize people to specialize and spec their players towards specific jobs instead of making just jack of all trades characters with a little bit of everything, just so you don't feel like you're falling behind the grind. This also means there's going to be more for the player who likes to stay behind and hold down the fort to be able to do. Just because you're not going out on looting runs doesn't mean you can't be doing something fun and helpful around the base, such as, say, preparing more armor and weapons, shoring up the defenses, preparing meals for when everyone returns. Now let's discuss Build 43 itself, shall we? This is the first wave of the NPC updates, and the only one that we have any concrete information of Indiestone's ideals and plans. As stated, this one's being worked on alongside the Build 42 updates by the other team. While they aren't concretely sure of how NPCs will be implemented as a start, they have listed several possibilities, such as human NPCs like the superb NPC mod that players could group an ally with, could be the reintroduction of story mode, so maybe Baldspot will get the munch on Kate, or maybe even the introduction of actual animals into the game, be they pets or for hunting. Only time will tell what we get. but some focuses they have in place for NPCs already is a RimWorld style priority and job system, diverse personalities, as well as procedurally generated story events, combat systems, and they may even try to give them a sense of self-preservation, so they don't just attract a million zombies and die, or say starve to death. Even giving them some advanced behavior systems, and most terrifying of all, driving systems. I personally drive terribly. Now you are telling me I may have to worry about some NPC named Billy Bob running me over with a car? If I wanted that, I'd just step outside my apartment onto the sidewalk, given how people in Kentucky drive. But in real talk, yeah, all these ideas and more definitely sound cool as hell if they can deliver on their promises. Which, given Indiestone's work so far, I think we're in good hands. The final planned improvement they mentioned is an overhaul of gun mechanics to make them more solid to use, and place more emphasis on player-based skill and not quite so much a roll of the dice to the green outline gods on if you'll hit the zombie or player or not. Which, hey, that'll make multiplayer even more spicy and interesting to come. The last thing they want to reiterate is that they aren't willing to put out features that they feel they aren't baked enough. So features aren't going to be rushed out just to push them out the door, unlike most AAA developers nowadays, which is fine by me. I'd rather the game come along slower and be more polished than rushed along, leading to new players getting turned off by a buggy, broken experience. Personally, I'm stoked with how transparent Indiestone is with their development processes and plans for the future. It's pretty awesome to get a nice coherent roadmap that lays out all their plans. Zomboid's only going to get bigger as it develops, and I hope the community continues to evolve and grow alongside it. It's about damn time they got their due credit for all the talent and vision. I mean, this game's been worked on for so long, and it's only now really getting any mainstream success. Personally, I'm stoked both for the future updates, but more for the introduction of crafting, expansions, and balancing, as well as huntable animal NPCs. While I'm not particularly interested in human NPCs, I'm sure they'll have plenty of time to win me over, especially if they could formulate the AI to be dynamic and interesting. That being said, it often feels like I'm one of the few people that just doesn't care about human NPCs at all. Here's hoping there's sandbox options so I can get rid of them for when they inevitably annoy the shit out of me. It's also nice to see skills, traits, and professions getting some balancing, just due to the fact that sometimes runs feel kinda samey and boring, with you often having to take the same or similar builds run after run. I also think it was a smart idea to split the team and have the development be done in tandem, allowing for a more steady flow of content rather than long droughts with nothing and then one major dump all at once. Speaking of a steady flow of content, if you'd like to get the scoop and get a detailed breakdown on each patch and update, be sure to subscribe for more, as in the future we'll cover in depth every patch they drop and make it easier for you to understand and see what's new for you. Overall though, I think this just about covers everything in this post, and I'd like to thank Kato for a lovely artwork like usual. I also like to thank each and every one of you for the support on the content. It means a lot to me, especially these names on screen who have contributed to the growth of the channel via the YouTube members program. Your continued support means the world to me. I hope you enjoyed the video. This has been Core, and I'll see you next time.